Hello, today we have my mom to read us a story. When the author wrote it, he was living here in India, and he wrote it about this part of the continent, which used to be Arabia.
Thank you. So I am Emily's mom, and I'm really happy to read you one of my favorite books called How the Camel Got His Hump. It's by Rudyard Kipling. Can you see the story? Now this is the next tale, and it tells how the camel got his big hump. In the beginning of years, when the world was so new and all, and the animals were just beginning to work for man, there was a camel, and he lived in the middle of a howling desert because he did not want to work. And besides, he was a howler himself. So he ate sticks and thorns and tamarisks and milkweed and prickles, most excruciating idle, and when nobody spoke to him, he said, "Humph," just humph, and no more. Presently the horse came to him on Monday morning with a saddle on his back and a bit in his mouth and said, "Camel, oh camel, come out and trot like the rest of us." "Humph," said the camel, and the horse went away and told the man. Presently the dog came to him with a stick in his mouth and said, "Camel, oh camel, come and fetch and carry like the rest of us." "Humph," said the camel, and the dog went away and told the man. Presently the ox came to him with the yoke on his neck and said, "Camel, oh camel, come and plow like the rest of us." "Humph," said the camel, and the ox went away and told the man. At the end of the day, the man called the horse and the dog and the ox together and said, "Three, oh three, I am very sorry for you with the world so new and all, but that hump thing in the desert can't work, or he would have been here by now, so I'm going to leave him alone, and you must work double time to make up for it." That made the three very angry with the world so new and all, and they held a palaver and an indaba and a punchayet and a powwow on the edge of the desert, and the camel came chewing milkweed, most excruciating idle, and laughed at them. Then he said, "Humph," and went away again. Presently there came along the jinn in charge of all deserts, rolling in a cloud of dust. Jinns always travel that way because it's magic. And he stopped to palaver and powwow with the three. "Jinn of all deserts," said the horse, "is it right for someone to be idle with the world so new and all?" "Certainly not," said the jinn. "Well," said the horse, "there's a thing in the middle of your howling desert," and he's a howler himself, "with a long neck and long legs, and he hasn't done a stroke of work since Monday morning. He won't trot." "Whew," said the jinn, whistling. "That's my camel for all the gold in Arabia. What does he say about it?" "He says, 'Humph,'" said the dog, "and he won't fetch and carry." "Does he say anything else?" "Only 'Humph,' and he won't plow," said the ox. "Very good," said the jinn. "I'll hump him if you will kindly wait a minute." The jinn rolled himself up in his dust cloak, and took a bearing across the desert, and found the camel most excruciatingly idle, looking at his own reflection in a pool of water. "My long and bubbling friend," said the jinn, "what's this I hear of your doing no work with the world so new and all?" "Humph," said the camel. The jinn sat down, and with his chin in his hand, began to think a great magic, while the camel looked at his own reflection in a pool of water. "You've gotten the three extra work ever since Monday morning on account of your excruciating idleness," said the jinn, and he went on thinking magics with his chin in his hand. "Humph," said the camel. "I shouldn't say that again if I were you," said the jinn. "You might say it once too often. Bubbles, I want you to work." And the camel said, "Humph," again, But no sooner had he said it than he saw his back that he was so proud of, puffing up into a great, big, lolloping hump. "Do you see that?" said the Djinn. "That's your very own hump that you brought upon your very own self by not working. Today is Thursday, and you've done no work since Monday when the work began. Now you are going to work." "How can I," said the camel, "with this hump on my back?" "That's made a purpose," said the Djinn, "all because you missed those 3 days. You will be able to work now for 3 days without eating because you can live on your hump. And don't you ever say I never did anything for you. Come out of the desert and go to the 3 and behave. Hump yourself." And the camel humped himself, hump and all, and he went away to join the 3. And from that day to this, the camel always wears a hump. We call it a hump now, not to hurt his feelings. But he has never yet caught up with the 3 days that he missed at the beginning of the world. And he has never yet learned how to behave. So, there are a lot of words in this book that you might not recognize, even though I think the story is told in such a way that you could probably figure out what they meant. But we're going to do a quick word wall of some of these stories, so some of these words, so that maybe when you listen to the story again, it will help. So, howling. Rudyard Kipling talked about a howling desert, and howling is a long, loud sound or cry, and it sometimes means extreme or really big. And howler is another word that was used in the book. And a howler can be someone who howls, like a dog might howl, but it can also mean a big mistake that might be funny, like, "Whoa, that was a real howler." And then he used a word I like a lot, excruciating, which is actually, I think you learned in class that this apostrophe replaces some letters. So the word is actually excruciating, but Rudyard Kipling kind of shortens it to excruciating, which means intense or embarrassing. And then another word you might have heard and might not have known is idle. And idle means not going anywhere or not doing anything. Sometimes your parents get on to you for being idle at home. And then the word that is actually what centers the story is the word hump. And hump is a great word because it's a word that means you're not happy with something. So you can say, "Hump, not having a great day," or "Hump, I don't want to eat that broccoli." And then Rudyard Kipling uses a word, actually 4 words that all mean the same thing, just from different places. So he uses the word palaver, which means meeting. It's just a word that was used when Rudyard Kipling was alive in Europe instead of, they used palaver instead of meeting. Indaba also means meeting, but this is a word they use in South Africa that means meeting. Punchayet also means meeting. So many cool words in different countries. This is a word, it's an Indian word, Indian from India, that also means meeting. And then there's a powwow, which is a North American Indian word for meeting. So all 4 of these mean the same thing, just in different places. And then he uses the word lolloping, which is kind of a cool word that means clumsy or uneven. So lolloping is often used, in the way somebody walks, like it was a lolloping walk or a lolloping run. But in this story, he uses lolloping to describe the camel's hump, which means it was uneven. And then jinn. The D is silent in this word, and jinn is a word for a spirit or a genie. It's not a real person, but it's a little like maybe Aladdin's lamp and the spirit or genie that lived in the lamp. So these are all the words that Rudyard Kipling uses in this book. And if you want to watch it again, then maybe these words will pop out and you'll know a bunch of new words. So thank you for letting me read to you. Bye.